Okay, I've picked out the graphics that I want to use for these stencils. Printed them off on my computer, just regular computer paper. I use a laser jet. It'll also work with an inkjet. All you want is it's for a template for the stencils. And I bought these index dividers at the dollar store. They work perfect for making stencils out of. And you need a really sharp X-Acto knife. Now this blade in here is a little bit dull, so I'm going to change it up for a nice sharp one and get started. You're also going to need a cutting board to cut your stencil on. Now you'll find these index dividers in the stationery part of the dollar store, and it's just a type of plastic that works perfect for stencils. It's not too rigid and it's not too thin or floppy, and when you put it over your graphic, you're able to see the graphic to cut them out. I like to take a little bit of packing tape and tape my graphic onto that piece of plastic so it doesn't move around, and it makes it a little bit easier to cut out your stencil. Now I've got a nice sharp blade in my X-Acto knife. Be really careful. We don't want to cut any fingers or anything, so just take your time. And it takes a little bit of a firm touch to get through the paper and the plastic, and just cut away. And as you can see the graphic right through that plastic and cut out along the lines until you have the whole graphic cut out. So that's one thing to look for when you're buying these little index dividers, is make sure they're a clear plastic that you can see through. You don't want to buy one that when you put your graphic underneath, you're not going to be able to see it to cut it out. And it makes it a lot easier if you have your cutting board underneath. I like using this little small one because you can spin it around easier than if you have a great big cutting board. But whatever you have will work perfect. Just make sure that you're pushing down firmly on the blade as you go along those straight lines. And I try to just do one letter at a time and work my way across. If you find you have a little bit that is not cut through, you can always kind of lift it up just a little bit and then slip your blade underneath and just nip that little corner that's not coming loose. But you do want to try to get as nice, clean, crisp lines as you can. So it might take a little bit of practice. Maybe just do a word with 2 or 3 letters first, just to practice until you can get the feel of how to use a knife and cutting through the plastic. And I have it all cut out, and I put the little center pieces in. You don't want to lose those because you'll need that when you do your stencil. I like to get a little piece of packing tape and just put those little pieces from the middle on the packing tape and then stick it right to that piece of plastic so it always stays together. And I'm going to save the letters that I cut out because I might use them for another project, so I'm just going to store them away in a little envelope. And I'm going to do this grateful one. It's a little bit more tricky because it's got the scrolled letters, but if you just take your time, you can get it cut out really well, and it makes a beautiful stencil. So I'm just going to work away here at the other 2 stencils. Okay, I have the Live Simply done. I've taped on my little pieces that I need when I'm doing the stencil, and I've taken these out to my shed, and we're going to get ready to use them. I've picked out 3 pieces of wood that fit perfectly with these stencils, and I'm going to just use some acrylic paint to put these stencils on. You can use acrylic paint, chalk paint, whatever you have in your stash. But what I do like to do is I like to spray the back of them with some spray adhesive. I find that it makes it adhere to the wood better, and it seals it up better so you don't have any leaking around the edges. So I just give a really light spray, let it sit for about 60 seconds, and then lay it on your piece of wood and press it down firmly, and you're ready to start painting your stencil. And you can see how well the X-Acto knife worked at cutting out those letters. I'm just using a round stencil brush, and I'm almost like dry brushing on some black acrylic paint all over that stencil. The spray adhesive is holding it in place really nicely. I'm going to put on a couple coats and then peel it off, and you'll see how wonderful these stencils work. Now, they may not be completely perfect like a stencil that you would buy in a store, but it's a pretty good alternative, and it's a lot cheaper than having to buy all the stencils when you want to make a specific sign. Now, I also like to put a little bit of spray adhesive on these little pieces. Keep them on that packing tape, give them a little spritz before you put them on the stencil, and they'll stick really well. And I'm just going to work away at these other two, and I'll show you the end results when they're all done. And with this sign, I'm going to layer up a couple different colors. I'm going to put on the black, and then I'm going to put a light blue along the top and a little bit of a darker blue along the bottom to see if I can get kind of a little bit of a different contrast in the colors and see how that looks. And I don't like to let the paint dry. I like to pull it off while it's still wet, and you just want to be really careful that you don't smear it as you're pulling it off. Just be gentle, because that spray adhesive works really well and holds it onto the wood and keeps it from bleeding. So just take your time and peel it off really gently, and you'll be left with a beautiful sign. Now we're ready to finish these up. I'm using a 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm really making it kind of distressed and antique looking. I'm going to put some clear wax on all of them to finish them up, and I'm really happy with the way these stencils always work. It's such an easy DIY to create and customize your own signs. I decided this sign needed a little bit of homemade stain, made a little bit up, just have more of a rustic look. I love the way it turned out. So next time you're at the dollar store, look for those plastic dividers, make some of these stencils for yourself, and make a custom sign. And let me know how you make out in the comments. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I love to read them. I'll be sharing so many more DIY, thrifting, repurposing videos, so if you aren't already following along, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and that will let you know when I upload my next video. See you real soon. Take care and have a great day.